Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Insurance Lounge with me, Tanya.
And me, Christy.
We are your local insurance agent out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we are on a mission to make insurance less boring, more useful, and something you can actually feel confident about. Our goal is to help you better protect your family, your home, your business, and most certainly your future, with all without making this overly complicated. So,
That.
with that said, Christy, what is our hot topic for the day today?
Well, going specifically to making it not complicated, right? And I know that you probably hear this all the time, Tanya, just like I do. And you run into people who just really don't even understand what their coverage is or what they need. Turns out the insurance company sends you something every 6 months on your auto that shows you all of that. It's your declarations page. We talked last week about declarations in your homeowner's policy. So today we're going to talk about your auto policy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you will find this extremely helpful. We're going to help you point out not only how to read your deck page, or why you should read your deck page and what area to pay attention to, so that you can avoid a lot of problems that you probably don't want to deal with when it comes to auto
Absolutely.
insurance.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's start with why does the declaration page matter, Christy? And is that something we get every renewal?
Every renewal, yes, you get either get the physical paper in the mail or you get an email directing you, to maybe go into your account and look at it. But at every renewal, you're going to get a declarations page. And in fact, probably anytime you make a change to your policy. So if you sell a car and get another one, that's a change on your policy. You're probably going to get a new declarations page at that point. And it matters because it's just the briefest snapshot of exactly what your coverage is. So understanding it can really help you know what you have, what you need, and where any gaps might be. So as you can see here, this is an amended policy declarations. This happens to be mine. I've just blocked out the personal information, but they sent me this one after I added Eric, my son, as a driver when he turned 16 a couple of months ago. So to my point there, every time you make a change, you're getting another one. So just starting at the very top, what is it showing me here? Each of the actual premium that I'm paying for each of the cars and what the total is.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Now,
And it's going to
also,
go into more detail, further on down about what the coverages are for each of those vehicles. But the first thing
mhm.
there is just the premium and, why it is what it is, because in that next section, like you see, what impacts my price. So any discounts that I have on my policy and any surcharges. So I actually had an at-fault accident there.
It
Uh,
almost falling off. Almost,
it's
almost.
it's close. It's close. My premium will go down when that one falls off, but um yeah, so my premium and why it is what it is.
Absolutely. And one of the things that's most important on this page, guys, is looking at your coverage period, right? Christy, this is when you want to make sure you know exactly when your coverage start and when is it expiring or when is it renewing.
That's right. So over here on the side, you see that the policy period. This is important, especially if you're switching insurance and you don't want to create any gaps in your insurance history by having a new effective date that's, 2 days later of when this expiration date was. You always want to go back to back with those dates.
Absolutely. And if you are in the state of Tennessee, Georgia, or Alabama, I think most of the states, except with the exception for some state like California or maybe New York, for example. But um, continuous insurance, guys, is a huge rating factor in most of the states. And with I want to say 99.9% of companies that are out there. So,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
so you do not want to have a lapse, even if it's just one day,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
A
you can
lapse is a lapse.
yep, a lapse is a lapse, guys. And so just be very, very careful with that, especially if you're planning to switch insurance company. Um, that gap will really, really disrupt your history of how long you have had continuous insurance, and that can really impact the pricing for you.
You betcha.
Mhm.
And then the next thing on this page that's really super important is who are the listed drivers. And then any excluded drivers. Now I don't have any excluded drivers on my policy, but um, I find that happening a lot these days. I don't know, Tanya, if you see this same thing. We have so many sort of multi-generational households where people might have, different policies within the household. So if I'm getting a policy and I'm saying, oh no, that's my brother, he lives in the same house, but he has his own insurance, he's not on my insurance, he might be listed here as an excluded driver.
Absolutely. And always check, especially if you have new members in the household or if you're in a similar situation like Christy, who just have a teenage driver that got his driver license. Don't forget to call your agent to add him into your policy before he
Yeah.
starts driving.
You do not want to find out at claim time that the driver who had an accident in your car is, not listed on your policy. That can really,
Absolutely.
yeah, can really hurt you at claim time.
Exactly. And now, I don't know how all carriers work, but a lot of times some carrier would exclude drivers. And so if you want that driver to be rated in your household and you're thinking, hey, they live with me and they're going to drive X, Y, and Z vehicles, um, make sure they're not in your excluded driver
Right.
section. So
Right.
take a quick look. It will take you no more than 30 seconds, I promise, but that will solve a lot of your problem at time of a claim.
You got it. You got it.
Awesome. And then what do we have next on the next page, Christy?
Next page gets to the really good stuff, right? So this is where you're going to see the specific coverages for each vehicle. And if I just keep scrolling here a little bit, you'll see that each vehicle is listed separately. We have 3 vehicles in my household, so it goes on for several pages. But just looking at one here, the first one, you've got the VIN. I always like to tell people make sure that the VIN, matches what you actually see on your car because in the states that we're talking about, that is a point of, that the state is going to make sure that any vehicles that are registered to you, judging by the VIN, are insured, and they get those reports from the insurers. So if we've got an incorrect VIN, it can really end up causing a problem because the state is going to show that your actual vehicle is not insured.
Yeah. And sometimes the State Department won't catch that, guys, but the problem might be you can get pulled over. Even
Hmm.
though the system has your vehicle not being insured, they're just not alerting you that they are not getting your insurance information. But you can get pulled over at any time. And I mean, nobody wants to get pulled over and have a fix-it ticket, right? Or having to go to court and deal with all of that.
Right, right. But the other main thing that's really important here is the coverages. So you see the columns here, the limits, the deductible. So the limits are what the insurance is actually going to pay with, so just taking liability here as an example. I have 100,000 per person up to $300, 300,000, excuse me, per accident for bodily injury. This is if I'm at fault in an accident and someone in the other vehicle is injured, this is what my policy will pay for them. And then the premium associated with that. So, same thing then, one line down for property damage. That's the damage to the other vehicles. And again, those are coverages and it lists it right there, coverage for when you're at fault. And then moving on down, you've got the coverage for you and your vehicle. So this might be, whether you are at fault or if you're even in an accident with an uninsured driver or someone with too little insurance, you see that listed there as well.
Absolutely. And the last two coverage for your vehicle, what most people refer to as full coverage, right, Christy?
Right, right.
And that's usually come with a deductible. So that's the amount you're self-insuring yourself for. So if
Right.
you have a nicer car, a newer car, like this Tundra, and you want to make sure that it's protected in the event of an accident or a non-accident, like if you ran into a deer or a deer ran
Hmm.
into you, right? That happened.
It runs into you every
Yep.
time.
Or a tree fell on your car during a
Hmm. Hmm.
storm, and you want to make sure that the insurance can help you replace or repair the vehicle. You want to make sure that you have full
Yep.
coverage. for
These are the
that.
two coverages that we're talking about when we're saying full, that most people are talking about. When they say full coverage, I want full coverage, it's because they want collision and comprehensive coverage.
And then, of course, this page also lists a bunch of stuff on here um, that might not be applicable to you because maybe you didn't choose to have the coverage, right, Christy?
Right,
But
right.
it is
Yeah.
available for purchase.
Right. So pay attention to that. Anything that's, and in this one, it's actually, listed there within the line items, not purchased. You see replacement protection or transportation expense. Other carriers, might even have a second separate section that says these are the coverages that you didn't purchase. But if you think that you have rental car coverage and it's listed here as not purchased under transportation expense, your insurance company is not going to pay for a rental car, when you're at fault. Pay
Absolutely.
attention to those not purchased items as well.
Yeah. And we want to really emphasize on this part of the policy for our audience, like understand this guy when it comes to auto insurance, truly the only thing that has to be on your auto policy is that very first section that you see, coverage
That's
for
right.
other people when you are at fault. That is the requirement that the state imposed on everybody, including
Hmm.
insurance agent, right? So as long as you drive, you have to have liability insurance at all
Right.
time.
And
And
truly, that's the only thing that you do have to have.
yep,
Um, if your vehicle is much older and not worth much, you might not want collision and comprehensive. Going to be okay with just walking away from that vehicle. If you have an accident without any kind of payout on it, then by all means, that's what you could do.
exactly.
Even uninsured, I've had people question this a lot as well. Even uninsured motorist coverage is not
Mhm.
required, but recognizing again, if someone hits you and they're not insured, if you don't have it in your policy, then you're not going to have that coverage.
Exactly. And then similar to any other extra insurance, like these are the nice things to have on your policy. So
Hmm.
like rental car, towing, things like that are absolutely not mandatory and it does not come with an auto policy. These are a la carte items that you can pick based on the needs and the situation that you are in at the time. And we do want you to know with every insurance company, no matter who you're with, all of these coverages are very liquid, right? They're not set in stone. You do
Absolutely.
not have to marry to it and then get stuck with it forever. That's the
Yep.
good news.
I'd change it every day if I want to. I don't know why you would want to, but you could.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, like, here's one tip, right? So, for example, if you have a spare vehicle at home, so when you purchase insurance from Christie, you might not want to add on car transportation expense, right?
Right.
Why do we need it if we have a spare car at home, right? So, if my car is in an accident, I can use my spare car to get to work. Now, however, I am going to take this Tundra on a nice long road trip to Wyoming, right? Now, if that's the case, maybe I want to give Christy a call before I go on my trip, right? Since I'm going to be alone with my Tundra, I might want to add rental car
Sure.
coverage to that.
Absolutely. Great
I might want
point.
to add towing to it, maybe,
Hmm.
right? Things like that. So if you're working with a personal agent, you can always call and talk to your agent about that when and if your situation changes.
You got it.
Awesome.
And so that's about all there is to it. It's not super complicated, but it is important to review it, at least when you buy your policy, at the very,
Hmm.
very least. I would actually recommend that you review it at least with every renewal. Like I said, they're
Hmm.
going to send it to you every time it renews, and just make sure that, life changes. And if you forgot to tell your insurance agent about something that changed along the way, it's not going to be reflected in that policy. So there's a good reminder right there at your renewal, and it's right there on the paper. Oh, I need to call and add that vehicle that I bought.
Yep. And the same thing go, let's say if you do insurance, like you prefer to have insurance with direct companies where you don't have a personal agent to,
Hmm.
to discuss this with you, that's okay. Those companies are still required to give you declaration pages
That's
at every
right.
single renewal and any time you make a change to your policy. So whether you have a call center rep make that change for you, your personal agent make that change for you, or you yourself went online and self-service. So if you added a car, remove a car, added a driver, remove a driver, changing
Hmm.
your address because you just moved, or you
Hmm.
just got a new PO box and you had to change your mailing address for your policy. So anytime you make a change, guys, we recommend that make sure you look for that amended deck page, just like the one that Christy is showing you now. Because you know what? Yes, if you have help from a call center, from an agent, or you went online and do it yourself, and the system process that for you electronically, but mistakes can happen, right?
You can,
Glitches can
sure.
happen. So you don't want to uh, find yourself in a situation where, I thought I had that coverage, I thought I add that driver or add that car, and that didn't happen.
Just like this document. I thought I sent it to you Tuesday, but I only I didn't send it until Wednesday.
That's right. So it's never hurt to double check, because our goal for you is, make sure you're comfortable with what you have, know what you have, before you have to use it.
You got
Really,
it.
that's the whole point. All right, Christy, I don't know about you, but I thought the episode today was quite helpful.
I agree. And so if you thought the same thing, please like and subscribe or follow us. If you have a friend who you think might find this interesting or helpful, feel free to share it with them.
Absolutely. And until next time, we'll see you then.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.